It's recording now.
Hi, my name is Caramel, and I'm here with Lycha. It's Lycha XO on Twitter.
Yes, it
Lycha.
is. Lychaxo.
Thanks for being here, Lycha.
Oh, absolutely.
Listen, are you from Florida originally?
No, I'm from the South, and I actually grew up, midway up the coast, and I followed a relationship down to Florida, and I'm not in that relationship anymore, but here I am.
Okay.
So,
That could be a good thing. It could be, yeah. So, how long have you been in the adult entertainment industry?
So I started camming, I want to say maybe 2 years ago? Ish. Two-ish years ago. And I've cammed on and off. I was originally on StreamMate, and from there I jumped over to Chatterbait about the same time that I did my first paid shoot doing some fetish porn. And then I got a little more work doing fetish porn, and so that was like earlier this year. And then I recently shot with Groovy for femout.xxx, so I have a couple sets up there. So kind of depending on how you want to look at it, if you consider doing camming, you know, being in the adult industry, then I guess like a couple of years, not continuous though. But if you look at it as, do you have, filmed content, then probably since about March of this year.
So you've done the webcam and you've done the major studio in. Which, are there any that you feel more comfortable with? Any mediums? Because you've done fetish too, so that's a totally different...
I really love fetish. And something that, I see is being trans, people expect you to be like either a top or a bottom, or you do both. And if you're kind of like, well, hey, I'll do that stuff. I'm also really into fetishy things. They're kind of like, oh, well, I don't know if that really sells. So I've run into a lot of that. And then like doing fetish stuff, there's maybe limited number of studios that are shooting a lot of trans models. So I like doing a lot of different things. And something that I like about doing cam shows, when I actually have the time to get on cam, when I can get an audience, which doesn't always happen, I really like being able to do different fetishy things for people. I like engaging with people. One story I like to tell is I had a discussion with someone over sampling rates on Tektronix oscilloscopes, and then I jerked off for him, which I think that's pretty hilarious and pretty awesome to have an engineering discussion and then masturbate for somebody.
Yeah.
And that's you can only do that on cam shows.
Yeah.
I do like being able to put together quality recorded work sometimes. Like, that's also a lot of fun. And being able to produce something that you can watch from start to finish. I used to, record music with some little garage bands and stuff. And just, producing your own work, putting that together, and coming up with something that sounds good, having a good quality finished product. That's something that I think is also really cool. And then I did live theater and stuff when I was younger too.
That's another thing that I wanted to ask you about, because you touched on it in your work with Groovy, with the theatrical, and I didn't want to ask too many specific questions and go into specifics about like what you could see where, but I could tell that with your theatrical background, it kind of gave you an edge with your filming. Do you think that will also carry into like more solo work and more future work, maybe even more hardcore?
I would love to do more solo stuff. I'm just sometimes wondering what it is people want to see. And I don't know, I don't get a lot of super specific things from people in terms of feedback on what they would be willing to buy from a clip store. I had some people order like foot fetish stuff. That was really fun to do, and when I did that, the feedback I got was that the clips came out really well. I had someone who was interested in like a really kind of obscure garbage bag fetish, and I did a couple clips that way. I don't know how well they came out, but the person said they liked them. So I really like to do as much diverse stuff as possible.
Right.
I'm kind of one of those, like, I probably have a huge bucket list if I were to actually sit and write it out. It's just one of those things. Like I would love to just do everything I can. And coming from an acting background, I really would like to do all sorts of things. When I play, because I do go to public dungeons sometimes and have people tie me up and smack me with things, I'm apparently like really entertaining to watch because I'm very reactive. And then I'll talk for things too in the BDSM world. And you know, I've studied just a little bit of rope. And just a little bit of like vlogging technique and stuff, but enough that I can apply it and make an interesting scene. So like there's that kind of stuff, which I think delivering a good performance, coming from an acting background, definitely is a plus there. In terms of doing like solo work, sometimes what I really need more of to be able to produce like something start to finish that can keep someone's interest, is just an idea of where someone wants a video to go, which is why like I'm always, you know, hoping people will give me, you know, even if they don't like want to order a custom, just feedback about what they think would be sellable, what they think they would be interested in buying. So that I can produce stuff that, you know, people think is like, hey, this was worth the $7-8 I spent on it. Like, I'll watch this a bunch of times. It's interesting and it turns me on. Like, love to do that kind of stuff. Like, I like to produce content for people that's good when I can. So, solo stuff. We were just screwing around earlier, and I kind of, you know, I was doing this whole example of Findom just as a demonstration, like, you're just a wallet, you're a loser, and all your money just needs to come to me so I can buy pretty lingerie that you won't even get to see me in because you're such a loser. It's pathetic piggy bank for me to use. And like doing that kind of stuff, you know, I can do 10 seconds of that. I'd love to build it into longer clips, but I need more of an idea of what people want to see with that. So, I don't know. I'd like to go that route. I'd like to do more of that, definitely.
Right. I think there is a growing market for fetish, not only in mainstream, but especially in trans porn.
Right.
Just as trans porn in general is a growing market, I think it's one of, I don't have the exact stats on it, but I think it's one of the markets that's actually still growing while others are not. Do you find that, I think that as it grows, people will break out of their shell more and start to explore and will actually make requests? Do you think that it's going to be easy to like interact with your fan base and to determine what they want by like be able to get feedback and that sort of thing in the future?
So now that Twitter's gone to 280 characters, you would think people would take advantage of that. Maybe we'll get there. Mostly people just write, you know, how many times they can fit boobs into a 280 character post now. But, you know, something like that, actually, the ability for people to like write more thought out responses to things would be kind of cool. Sometimes people have emailed me with like ideas for things. I really do like interacting with my fan base. I can't guarantee that I reply to everything, but I usually try to read through all my notifications and reply to a lot of them. And I do like, you know, if someone gives me feedback, especially if it's kind of critical feedback, I will take it into account. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So how long ago did you first like, you know, you're transitioning now. Some people say that they never stopped transitioning. But when did you get your beginning? Exactly. When did you start actually say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to go for this. I'm really going to just like live my life full time the way that I want to.
That's a really interesting story. In my mid-20s, I had interacted online with enough trans people and realized, oh my god, what they go through is what I go through, did some research and figured out I wanted to transition. And before then, I was really scared. I knew there was something different about me, couldn't quite place what it was. You know, but when you're like cross-dressing and stuff, you know, I don't look at it as cross-dressing now because my gender identity is
you're on a journey,
female.
yeah.
Right. But, you know, at the time, it was like, I was cross-dressing. It wasn't for sexual purposes, like as a teenager and stuff. And, I don't know, like, it just somehow didn't really occur to me, but I was afraid of it, because kind of the culture I grew up in. Just didn't want to be labeled certain things. And, you know, by my mid-20s, interacting with trans people online, I knew I wanted to transition. I was not in a good position in my life for it. I was a severe alcoholic. I was addicted to drugs. I was not a good person. I had to do a lot of work on myself. And I have 2 years and I want to say about 10 months sober. I have to look at a calendar to check dates. But so I had to get my life together, and getting sober was a really important part of me transitioning. Because I had to come into this with a clear head. In order to live my truth, I had to find my truth. And that means that I had to know myself. In 12-step communities, one of the things you hear, one of the slogans in the rooms is know thyself. And that is something that very much is true for me, that I had to figure out who I was and where I wanted to go. And I could only do that with a clear head, by getting clean and by paying attention to like the stuff in the programs, going through the steps a few times with a few sponsors, finding out more and more about myself, and realizing that a lot of the stuff I was learning about alcoholism applied to everything in my life, including my transition. And so it was, you know, a couple years and a few months ago that I had an appointment with someone to start hormones, and it hasn't been a steady road because I've changed jobs, changed insurances, changed doctors, changed medicines, found out that I don't respond well to estrogen taken orally, and then there's been the whole like injectable estradiol valerate shortage, and it's been really frustrating. Transition's not gone as smoothly as I hoped, and a lot of times I haven't been able to afford like laser hair removal treatments, which kind of sucked. But honestly, that's part of why I got into camming. That helped with my first few like laser appointments.
Right.
And that's something that, like, you know, part of my journey also has been embracing more than just the fact that I'm trans, and learning that there's a lot more to me than just a few things, and being able to delineate more clear boundaries between those things, and then find ways to integrate different aspects of my life, so that I feel like a whole person.
What I like to do is wrap this up for now, and then continue and have a second conversation where we'll go into a few different topics and
sounds like a plan.
Start our Q&A part 2. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.